I met Derek Akora the other week.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Now, who's he? Which one's he?
He's...
is he a medium? He can contact the dead, is that right?
He just chats to him and that, passes messages on.
Nice of him.
So I said, oh, tell us something a bit weird and that. So he said, what do you want to know? I said, just something weird. So he goes, all right then. He said, here's one for you, right? And he said, there's this pub out in the country. And he said, there's this mug. Do you know those old mugs that they have? Where they used to like leave their own cup knocking
like
about, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
The tankard thing.
Yeah.
So there was one of them mugs in there, right? And everybody...
Tankard, let's use tankard if we've established that.
Tankard, yeah.
Because you're the only mug in this story.
Right.
Believing it all.
High five. Great.
So this tankard's knocking about, right? And everyone who's running the pub keeps going, oh, I wish they'd stop leaving this tankard about, right? And they pick it up.
It must be a pain. Having a tiny, small tankard in a pub, that must be a real grind.
So every time they sort of picked it up and went, we'll have to wash that, and they popped it on a different sideboard. Next thing you know, that person who's touched it died, right?
Sure.
So
they must have been getting through bar staff.
So they kept getting a new staff and that. And they were like, oh, what's the connection here? Right?
What's the connection here?
Oh, God.
So they get a vicar in.
Of course they do.
And they go, look, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. This tankard, every time someone touches it, they die. So he said, leave it with me. He gets his special water out and what have you. He comes round, does a little prayer, sprinkles it. He goes, right, not a problem, don't worry about it. He picks it up, chucks it in the bin. Guess what?
What?
Dies in a crash on the way home. Because he picked it up.
Well, but Carl, you're telling me this like it's fact, and I'm meant to go, that's amazing.
Derek Akora, he told me.
Carl, I have no opinion of that story, other than I'm pretty sure there was absolutely no connection between touching the tankard and him dying. That's all I'm sure of.
It's not just him, though, is it?
I'm not going to even contest the chain of events. All I'm saying is there is no connection. There is no connection possible because I believe in logic and the laws of the universe.
Yeah, but what I mean, you never pick up a vibe of... I've got a mate, right, who he's living in this big stately home, right, and he's living in there now. He pays £100 a month. There's about 80 rooms.
Gee.
And it's this big stately house and what have you. And I went down there. He said, oh, come down and have a look, right? And from outside you go, oh, this is brilliant. It's like something out of, you know, like the Man of Born or something. You go, this is impressive. But then when you get in, it's like, it's a wreck. And we go in, and all the floors are like a wreck and rotten and stuff. And I looked at the wall, and there was like a little piece of paper stuck on the wall, right? And I said, what's this here? So I wandered over, right? Got right up close to it, and somebody had wrote it.
Somebody had wrote it?
Oh.
Somebody had wrote it.
Right, go on, sorry.
So there's a little sign there, right? And I go up to it, and it says, flies, right? With an arrow. Flies, like, flies this way, right? I think that's a bit weird. So I follow the arrow, right? Which goes to this corner where there's a shelf. About 3,000 dead flies on it.
Oh, my God.
Condom stuck on the top. You might remember in the first podcast, I was telling you about this scary house that my mate lives in, where he's like a security man. You're not like a security man, are you? What are you?
Well, I just look after it.
You just look after it and that. He just looks after it. So this is it, because I thought I'd show you around it, because just in case you thought I'd made it up and that, about the bit about the flies and all that, where there's flies on the shelf and stuff. So this is the sort of state I was telling you how it's a mess. This is it. Ceiling's caving in over there. What's just there? Pair of pants. Right then, we've found the room that I was talking about on the podcast, with the dead flies and that on it. This is the sign that I was telling you about. Got a fly on it, right? Little arrow. There's flies here, look. Little ladybird there. Oh, flies attacking the ladybird and that. Right? So you've got that. So follow it along. Right? You think, well, there's nothing there. And you've got, you can get the camera up there, right? Look at that lot. Dead flies. I'm just showing you this because some people have said, oh, you made it up and all that. But there's no way, just for the sake of the podcast, I'd go around collecting that many dead flies. There's a condom as well that I was talking about. Weird, isn't it? That's weird, isn't it?
That is weird.
That is weird, right? So I'm looking at that, and there's loads of stuff on the floor and that bits of paper. Picked up this bit of paper, right? And it had, like in biro and that, it looked really old, like it'd been there years. And it had something like, need nappies, dummy, right? Blankets, blah, blah, all this, like, all stuff for, like... And I turned it over, right? And it said, none of this now needed, baby dead.
Right.
Now that's weird, isn't it? Now that's what I'm talking about when you get a bad vibe. You go, that's who's been in here.
It's bad vibe. It's just based on the fact that
Your mate's in charge.
yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, yeah, so it's like saying, are we scared of the dark? Yes, I understand why people are scared of the dark. I'm a little bit scared of the dark. You're walking along.
Because you don't know what's in it.
Yeah, you don't know what's in the darkness. That's why people get nervous. It doesn't mean you have to make the leap then that you've got some paranormal sense. Oh my God, I'm Karl Pilkington, and hang on, just like Derek Acora, I have sensed something strange and evil in this room. Wait a minute, there's some flies in a condom. I was right all along.
That is weird.
Flies in a Johnny equals badness.
The flies in the condom was weird.
It's
now.
weird. I don't know.
But the note.
Yeah.
I just think of his face when he saw that, reading it by torchlight. You must have been terrified.
It's a bit odd, isn't it?
Rick, you'll be pleased to know we've already had some responses, and Simon and Mark have already emailed us in this link to something that was on the BBC News website. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's a remarkable story. Lion mutilates 42 midgets in Cambodian ring fight. That's just the headline.
That's a hell of a headline. That makes me want to know more about
Yeah,
the story.
well, that's what a headline
should do.
Spectators cheered as entire Cambodian midget fighting league squared off against African lion. Tickets had been sold out 3 weeks before the much-anticipated fight. The fight was organised when an angry fan contested Yang Shamoni, president of the CMFL, claiming that one lion could defeat his entire league of 42 fighters. Well, the fight was ended, Rick, after only 12 minutes, after which 28 of the midget fighters were declared dead.
Right.
While the other 14 suffered severe injuries, including broken bones, lost limbs, and they were basically unable to fight.
But the
anymore.
lion wasn't hurt?
It would have seemed that the lion was okay.
Oh, good. Well, that's amazing.
Karl, what are your thoughts instantly? I mean, you're bound to have a take on that.
See, what's annoying me is I've sent money to Cambodia because apparently they're hungry and haven't got any energy. So what's going on?
Well, it's much easier to fill up a midget than it is a regular Cambodian. You know, they're
I just
happy
feel
on
like
a Mars
I'm
bar.
being cheated a bit.
You were conned before with a charity, weren't you?
Well, a few times, yeah.
What about the old lady? What was that?
I got stopped, and it's like they sort of drag you in by saying, "Have you got a gran?" And I said, "No, they died," and that. It's like, "Oh, did they die of the cold?" No, just, ill. What have you? Just old age. He said, "Well, what happens with a lot of people's grans is they die in the cold, right?" So I was like, "Oh, that's bad, isn't it?" Anyway, so she's chatting and she's showing me pictures of these old women who look cold, right? Saying, "Look at her, that's Edna. She's got no family. She can't pay the bills and all that."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh yeah." Anyway, it goes on for about 15 minutes, and you feel bad. You give them your bank details, right? And what happens is every couple of months you get a letter from Edna. Well, it's not from her; it's typed up and what have you. But there's a picture of Edna, right? And it's saying, "Oh, this December, Edna's going to be extra cold. It's cold outside. She can't afford to pay the heat and what have you."
Yeah.
Keep going, right? So you keep paying every month like £5, whatever. Get another letter a few months later, right? Edna's sat there. She's got a tan.
What do you mean she's got a tan?
Well, when they said, she's cold, I thought they meant for the heating, not to send her on holiday for a month. She sat there with a tan. I'm not joking.
Are you sure it wasn't just a slight problem in the printing?
No, definitely.
Sure,
she looked well happy.
Sure, it wasn't liver failure.
You see, when does it become bad to avoid people like that? Do you know what I mean? Because some people say you shouldn't. They're people like us. They've just had a bit of bad luck.
Well, of course they are.
Yeah, I know, but I remember one on our estate, right? And she was a bit. What's the word that you can use? Because I don't want to offend anyone. But I'd say but sort of mental homeless.
Is that a term?
That's the official term.
I think that is the
new official term. It's mental homeless-itis.
Right, so she lived on the estate and what have you, and she aged...
How was she homeless if she lived on the estate?
Well, she sort of decided to stay around there because I think people on the estate spoke to her more than people who had money. So this mental homeless woman on the estate, and what she used to do, right, she acted quite normal, and she used to always push like a pram around with her, right? And everyone was like, she can't have a kid, can she? Right? And she was dead happy every day. She was up and down, walking up and down the road. Anyway, one day she sort of walked past, right? Turned round and looked in the pram. There's a bucket with a face on it.